Well, you know what? I said that half of my life is involved in a humanitarian foundation which is looking to do just that, because one of the things that AIDS does is it creates inequality. AIDS is a disease which spreads through ignorance and through fear, misunderstanding, and broken relationships. It destroys families by removing the breadwinners, so the children grow up very poor. And yet, with my medic hat on, I see that. But with my business hat on, I see something different. And the truth is this, that as you know, economic growth in the last 5 years has lifted more people out of absolute poverty in places like Kolkata or Shanghai or Myanmar or wherever else, lifted more people out of absolute poverty and indeed relative poverty in Eastern Europe, in places like Russia, in Ukraine, and places like that. It's economic growth which is paying the pensioners their pensions after the chaos of the breakup of the Soviet Union. It's not government policy. It's businesses that are generating taxes and wealth. It's capital growth. It's the value of property increasing. So older people are finding that they actually have equity in their homes. They're releasing a bit of that so the next generation can buy their houses. And so the wealth is being spread across the whole community. So the short answer to your question is that actually trade itself, doing the agreements, traveling to countries where there are large labor pools of perhaps relatively unskilled, poorly paid people that can be trained by your organization, invested in a socially responsible way. So we're also educating their children. We're providing some basic health care. It's packages of support. And these things, more than anything, will drive economic growth. As I often say, I'm often criticized in Europe for some of the things I say about outsourcing. And they say, oh, you know, you're destroying the jobs of people in Bristol. And I say, well, I don't think that's true. If you want the world to actually turn more smoothly, then this is a mighty force for good change. Because for every job that is lost in Bristol, every job that is outsourced to Hyderabad, as you know, we create perhaps another 50 to 100 jobs which are somehow going to benefit from that single job. We know that $100 put into the pay packet of someone in Hyderabad gets spent up to 100 times in a month. 3 rupees goes to buy, I don't know, a small number of rupees goes to buy an SMS from a woman who's sitting on the ground with her 3-year-old child. She's selling the SIM card. And you know that within 1 hour, she has taken those rupees and she's spent them in the market to buy rice. And you know within another 3 hours, the person who's received the money for rice has gone to pay the landlord his rent. And so the money goes spinning round. And we know that one of the real engines that happens in a country like India or Indonesia or Thailand, it comes through the outsourcing, the offshoring, and the rest. And out of this buzz, this entrepreneurial dynamism grows, and more goods and services get bought, and some of it comes back to the Western countries as well in terms of increased demand for products and services. So for me, globalization, which sometimes can bring its own problems, but globalization has this capacity, I believe, to produce economic growth which will solve many, many of these social challenges. In the meantime, it's very, very important that as corporations operating globally, that we understand very sensitively the environments that we're in, and we tread carefully and with respect.